My name's Billy. I am a ex-member of the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club. I'm a person in long-term recovery, and I am chatting with Staxx.
Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Billy.
They blacked out my other club tattoos, and then they started, blacking that out as well through the burns. And then, eventually at the end of it all, brought me to a hotel, dropped me off, and basically, you stay on your side of the street, we'll stay on ours.
But this is your whole life at this time, right?
Yeah.
What about your motorcycle? Where did your motorcycle go? What happens with that?
Motorcycles, I signed it over. I signed over the title.
Wow.
It's kind of an unwritten thing, you know what I mean? Back then they used to say, if you're not a Hells Angel, you don't need a motorcycle. That's what they used to say to people when they would get thrown out of the club, so yeah. So, and then I was in the hospital for 29 days.
29 days.
Yeah.
With the burns on your back and
the burns and stuff. Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking when you're in the hospital? Does anyone from the club ever reach out to you again?
Mm-mm. No.
And these are the guys that you're closest with.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so here's my hit, right? The two guys, or two of the guys that I was closest to, I feel that if they were there, I either would not have been thrown out or I would not be alive.
Because it'd be one or the other.
Yeah. So I think I probably walked away a lot luckier than, well, I say lucky then, right? But today I'll say that I was just blessed, right? And today, you know what I mean? I'll say that everything that I've gone through in my life has led me to who I am and what I do today, and like we've discussed before, you know what I mean? I've been in recovery now for 16 and a half years. I've gotten to help a lot of people that were just like me recover from. I don't know if you ever watch the Patched podcast.
Yeah, shout out to Mooch, shout out to Jason.
Yeah, Jason and Mooch. A lot of the guys that they have interviewed, talk about, they're kind of coming through like all of that trauma that you experience while you're in the club. I have been able to very recently, in the last 2 or 3 years, run into people that were members. One that was a member in the Rhode Island charter after I had transferred, but I knew him and I ran into him, at a recovery meeting. Didn't know who it was at first. Been able to kind of help him through that process, you know what I mean, when he was like early on in his recovery. And then I ran into another guy that I didn't know from a different area, and he had reached out to me, and I want to think, or at least I feel, that I've been able to help them in their recovery process, because it's a bit, you know what I mean, substance use and addiction and recovery is its own thing, but bringing that into the motorcycle club world is a whole nother aspect to the whole thing. You know what I mean?
I always thought that they don't like when people are like really addicted to drugs, but some people are functioning,
Yeah, well, I mean, they don't, you know what I mean? It's never pushed on you. You don't have to, you know what I mean? But it's, it's just part of that lifestyle. You know what I mean? I was addicted to way before, you know what I mean? I even joined a motorcycle club.
Yeah, but like on the West Coast, I see all these people in pictures with balloons, and like, when is this acceptable? I just like,
I don't know. It's not for me to sit and judge, you know what I mean? Because I was right there, you know what I mean? And I truly believe this, right? That I am the person that I am today, whatever that person is, right? I am that person today because of everything that I went through in my life. All of it, who I am today. Not just the good, not just the bad. You know what I mean? It all shaped me into the person that I am today. And now that's what I do for a living. You know what I mean? I help other people and I've done that for the past 15 years of my life. You know what I mean? I work in the substance use field, and I'm a licensed clinician. It's just crazy, but I've used my experience. You know what I mean, to be able to help other people like myself, get to the other side. It's and but here's the hit, right? I still sit here and struggle with my past. You know what I mean? Because that was so much a part of who I was, and to have lost it, you know what I mean, through no fault of anybody's but my own, right? So there's still a lot of shame and guilt that I deal with over that, you know what I mean? Because at the time, you know what I mean, I was a well-known member, and I was a well-known member for like being there and doing what it needed to be done when it needed to be done. And to fall from that it's hard, you know what I mean? It's hard to swallow. It's been, what did I say? It's coming, it'll be 30 years
30.
next year, right? So 29 and a half years later, I still have reoccurring dreams of, in my mind, failing at that. You know what I mean? That I let all those people down. You know what I mean? That I was, you know what I mean? Because at one point I was held in somewhat of a regard in that world.
As a high standing member in good standing, basically, right?
Right. So,
now those people that did that to you that day, the guy that you took the money from, all this stuff, if they were sitting here right now, what would you say to them all these years later?
Yeah. It probably will sound like really up, just because I really feel that I failed them. Still to this day, I feel that I failed them. You know what I mean? Those are
Because
my brothers.
you never got to explain yourself, really, like, right?
Nah, nobody wants to hear that explanation. You know what I mean? I can tell you this: when you're in, you're in. When you're out, you're out. And it doesn't matter if it's me, George Christie, or
Zito,
when
this guy,
you're in,
this
you're in.
guy.
When you're out, you're out.
But when you're in, do you feel like this ain't gonna end? This is my whole life. This is what I know, right?
Of course you do. Yeah,
and then boom, the bus stops and things are different. So that's what I want to talk to you next about.
Sure.
After you're out, you get home from the hospital. Where did your life go next?
A lot of inner demon fighting, right? A lot of feelings of failure. A lot of, because being part of that organization, you know what I mean? Although I was only a member, an actual member for 3 years, there was a whole 7-year process prior to that becoming, to be able to become a member.
So basically 10 years of your life.
So 10 years. So, you're lost. You know what I mean? That defined who I was for so long. I was lost, felt, even today, I will still sit here and say that I sometimes will feel like I failed at that. You know what I mean? I would not have the life that I have today, though, probably if I had, if I had succeeded at that, if you want to call it, you know what I mean? So I was lost, man. I was absolutely lost. I'm from Rhode Island. I'm out now on Long Island at some friggin' hospital that I ended up at. I get out and they basically, I had nowhere to go. I had nothing. I literally
You had your
left.
apartment though, right? You had your apartment still in New York?
What apartment? My apartment was in the clubhouse.
Oh,
I lived on the 5th floor of the clubhouse. That was my apartment.
Oh,
I no longer had a motorcycle. I had sold my car before I moved to Manhattan because you don't need a car in Manhattan.
Everything you owned was in there, right? In the apartment.
I literally left with a pair of work boots, a pair of jeans, and a shirt. That was it.
Wow.
So I end up in this, I don't even know what you call it, boarding house or something. Somehow, number one, I got the best. I ended up at some hospital in Southampton. The doctor who operated on me, he was like the greatest friggin' dude I ever met in my life. he did the operation and whatnot, knew I didn't, he hooked me up with some type of organization that you had to apply for this, that, and the other, and it would cover like your hospital bills and all that stuff and whatnot. So I get out of that. I'm in like this group home, which was a horrible experience. But like, that's how busted out I am, right? Like, that's how, you know what I mean? Down on, like, I got nothing. I could just, who am I calling, right?
You got bandages all on your back, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm a mess. To call my parents, but you know what I mean? I'm even embarrassed to do that, right? Because anyways, I end up in this group home or whatever. They set me up with some type of medical help. I have an appointment with that doctor at his office in a few weeks for a follow-up. I eventually, within a week or so, decided, you know what, I got to go home, right? I call mommy and daddy, right? I call them up. Like, I got to come home. I don't really tell them what's going on. I tell them when I was in a car accident, when I need to come home and lick my wounds or whatever. So my dad sends me train money and some money to get some food. I decide I'm going to go home. I was just, it was a mess. It was just an absolute mess. And that was, again, 29 years ago. I ended up going home and pretty much licking my wounds. I'll say that when I left, I had a phone call with one of the members the day after, and basically was told, you stay on your side of the street, we'll stay on our side of the street. You know what I mean? Nobody's looking for you. Nobody's, whatever. It's done. You know what I mean? It's done. It's over. So I went home. I stayed with my parents for a while. I mean, I was fucked up for like years. You know what I mean? I probably drowned myself, in booze and and muddle through the next, I don't know how many years of my life until I was able to find, myself into recovery and did a whole 180 after that. You know what I mean? But it was a struggle for a long time. Didn't know who to trust, didn't know who, and I ran into some members here and there in passing in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
And
those members were still there, right? Your old club still there.
Oh, sure. Yeah, sure.
When you go back now, do you get in contact or have contact with anybody that was in the club in Rhode Island?